Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for popping by here. And yes, today I am back again. I have made a post on my Instagram and on the website of a new channeled message that I'm excited about, and I'm excited to share some of the things that popped out at me. But when I channel these messages, I do set the intention. I ask for what is right for me to know on my journey and whoever else will read it. So if you feel inspired to read it, I am sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that you will find something in there that will be of assistance to you as well. So who is this channeled message from? So this is an exciting one for me as well. It's my first message channeled from Sirian Energy. So if you know of Sirius, it's a star. I didn't know much about it. I still don't. So uh, who knows? Maybe you could share many things to me about it. But on Sirius, there are many different planets with many different beings. And this channeling came through a 12D non-physical being, and they let me know they're from Sirius B. And so you may ask, well, if they're non-physical, how can they be from that planet? Well, we carry an energetic kind of signature. So this too, I don't know much about, but I know that they're from Sirius B, that they live in the 12th dimension, so they're non-physical, and so that's what I was given to classify this message as. So when I first started sharing, I just said everything is from cosmic oneness. But it is fun to know, like, what parts of the cosmos these different messages are coming from. And at this time in our human evolution, I truly do feel that we are integrating our galactic heritage. We're integrating our humanity with the other, lives we live, the other DNA and information within us. And so in the spirit of this integration and expansion, that's why I started sharing who these messages were coming from exactly. So yeah, it's exciting for me because this was the first message from Sirian Energy, and when it came through, I could definitely feel a difference. Like energetically, whoever I channel, it's a distinct difference, and whether it's a collective or an individual as well. So this one, it felt, it was very smooth, and if you are getting into channeling, you'll realize the ones that you connect with or are a match to vibrationally, it will come through very smooth, and it will feel very comfortable, because you are an energetic match, and you wouldn't be able to channel that energy if you weren't an energetic match. So yeah, there was, like I said, three kind of major things that popped out at me. The first one was they mentioned, and I can say she because it was a feminine energy. She mentioned that to recognize the progress you've made. Of course, I was channeling for me, so it was, recognize the progress I've made, but recognize the progress you've made in your life. And oftentimes, especially on this ascension journey, we are so wanting to get to the next step. We're so wanting to, get rid of this pattern, get rid of this program and all this, and get forward, that we maybe don't take a moment and celebrate where we are and how far we've come, and recognize the growth we've made along the way. So it really struck me, because when I looked back, my awakening was about 4 years ago, and I look back, I have made so much progress. And of course, uh, this being could see the progress on an energetic and vibrational level. And so, and when I started thinking about it on that level, like on a vibrational level, I was like, wow, because yeah, I had to have learned how to take like life force measurements, which is life force is like energy, and you can translate that to vibration. And yeah, it's fascinating to see how your vibration changes through your life, and to where it is now. And so yeah, it's gone through a uh, very steep climb these last few years. And so I'm just feel so fortunate that I had my awakening and I'm sharing with you. And all that to say is that recognize that for yourself, and really be grateful for that. Like, even you watching this video, if you're watching this video, that means you must be awakened to some degree, which means basically you fulfilled your mission of coming to this planet. So that's amazing. Congratulations. And of course, once we awaken, we will become realized and we'll do all these beautiful things. But the main mission is to wake up in the first place. So that's a lot. That's a big deal. So definitely congratulate yourselves, celebrate, realize how far you've come. And in looking back, of course, we don't want to look into the past or look back all that often, but I say this as a little exercise to just make you feel good about yourself, make you realize, like, wow, I really have made all this progress. And about the life force readings, I'm not sure when I'm going to share that, but one day, whether here or somewhere else, that would be cool. But you can definitely measure your frequency and see how it's changed over the years. But yeah, so back to this message, the second thing that popped out at me was she was talking about how since I started listening to my intuition, and for me, I recognize when I started listening to my intuition, it literally never steered me wrong. My intuition was correct 100% of the time. And then when I didn't listen to it, I would always get myself in some sort of pickle, like not something too bad, but like just not as smooth as it could be. And I could see that. And I was just blown away, because all these things that we learn on this path, it's one thing to hear someone in a video speak it and you feel it resonate with you in your heart, but you actually have to experience it for yourself to really like know it, and to turn that into wisdom. So of course we gain wisdom through experiences, so we have to experience it. So when I started on this in this awakening journey, and I actually started listening to my intuition, which I had been ignoring my entire life before this point, I was just so blown away by how perfect it was and how easy it was. And then when I didn't listen to it, it showed me what happens when you don't. And so that gave me so much compassion for the older versions of me or other human beings that are at that point of their journey where they haven't yet started to listen to that. And not that anyone's behind, everyone's at the perfect spot for them, but just that compassion to have for someone when you hear them going through a tough time. And you know, some people are ready to hear about this kind of stuff. Sometimes you can just plant a tiny seed. Some people will kind of, well, they'll get fearful, and that is, it's probably the, well, my least favorite reaction. But when someone is emitting fear, of course, all it is a cry for love. So you just uh, send them more love. You know, I had one of my first posts on my Instagram was about who to share with. And the information I received from my higher self was like, every human is a master already, but there's like 3 distinct stages. One of them is the seedling stage. And the seedling, if you have ever done any gardening or growing, you know, you don't give it fertilizer, you don't give it nutrients. All it needs is water. And the analogy was love was the water. So for someone in their seedling form, all they need is love. If you give them nutrients or if you give them information, it can actually burn them. It can actually be too much. So just love. And then the next stage was the small plant, and this is like the seeker stage. And so when we're seeking, we're looking for information, we're gulping down those nutrients, we're gulping down the water. We need lots of water and lots of nutrients. So lots of love, lots of information. And then the next stage is like the fully grown, like a tree stage, where you're tapped into the water supply, which is like your supply to source energy, so you don't have to get it from anywhere else. And you have such long roots, you can get nutrients. And so, yeah, if you're interested, that's on my Instagram and on my website. But all that to say is just that when you're listening to your intuition, you would have a knowing of how much what this person requires. And so sometimes it's tough when you're learning to listen to your intuition, because you're like, am I going to hear something? Am I going to see something? You know, people talk about visions and hearing something. Well, a lot of time it just comes as like a knowing. Like for me, it's just like a knowing or a feeling. And the visions come more in like a meditation, or when I'm just in kind of a high frequency mode. And the clairaudient, like hearing things, for me is very rare. And also just happens when I guess when I really need it. But, or sometimes just to kind of, for something different. Yeah, the last one I heard was the sound of Velcro, and the whole meaning behind it was that thoughts are like Velcro, and when you put Velcro on, it's very easy to put on Velcro, you know, so it's very easy to think a thought, say a thought that isn't serving you. Very easy to think that. But then when you take it off, it's like Velcro. It's like, you know, this is loud. There's all these little fibers get tangled up in all these little parts. And so if you keep thinking, and the analogy was, for as long as you think that thought, that's as long as the piece of Velcro was. So imagine you think the same, I don't want to use the word negative, because negative isn't a bad thing. We've just kind of related that in the English language. but let's just say a thought that doesn't serve us. So the more we think it, the more longer the Velcro strip is. So the longer it's going to take to get off, and the more fibers are going to be in it. It's going to be more loud and basically difficult. So the whole meaning of that Velcro was just that if you think a thought that doesn't serve you, pivot immediately and don't let it go on and gain momentum and that kind of thing. So yeah, all these things, they all tie in together, and when you open yourself up to your intuition, you'll realize that all the messages you receive are synchronistically tying into one another. And it's just such a beautiful thing, and it really does make life magical. Like, you can't believe how these things happened, but it's because you put yourself in the right place at the right time, and you listen to that inner guidance. And you can say that's from your higher self and your spirit guides. So, but also maybe it's just an ET helper friend, like the Sirian friend. And so, what they were saying about that intuition is that when you live your life by your intuition, it frees you so much. Your freedom is expanded on such a great level. And why is this? Is because when you're not living by intuition, you're constantly thinking of what could happen. So you're creating all these scenarios, and then you're going into the past experiences and even perspectives, maybe, to see how those scenarios will play out. So that's a lot of thinking. That's a lot of mental processing. Now take the intuitive approach. It's literally nothing of that. It's all gone. Because you just listen to your intuition, listen to your feelings. And instead of being in your head, you're in your heart. And so you can just, like, as I was writing the Instagram post, as I was writing that part, I just felt so much relief. Like, just clears the mind space so much. Because when we're overthinking like that, it does lower our vibration, because we're going to be thinking of what could go wrong, worst case scenarios, or else, because if we're trusting the best thing was going to happen, you wouldn't be thinking of all these scenarios. So when we're living by intuition, we know that the best possible outcome for us is what's going to happen for us. We don't know what that is. We let go of attachments to what could happen, and we trust that our higher self, our guides, our friends are going to bring us the people and circumstances that is best for us. And we also trust in our vibration, because that's what's going to be shaping the reality, as well as bringing these different situations to us. So that when one is living in intuition, the mind is clear. You're in your heart because you're feeling rather than thinking about what's going to happen. And because you're in your heart, that's where your higher self lives. You're aligned with your higher self, and you are trusting the journey. You're trusting the process, and that it's only gonna get better in all aspects. If you're consciously on this journey or not, it is always getting better. It follows like an exponential curve. Of course, that curve has ups and downs all along the way, but when you zoom out and average it all out, it's a smooth exponential curve for pretty much everything in life. And this was a vision I had that actually this Sirian friend mentioned in this channeling. And so that is why I bring that up, just because when you're following your intuition and you're trusting in your path, and you know it's only going to get better and better. And even if you encounter something that you would call a challenge or an obstacle, the only reason it's there is so to make your life better, because you're going to learn something, you're going to become more of yourself. So everything is positive, everything is good, everything is great. So yeah, I found that fascinating, because I used to be constantly in my head, constantly overthinking. If you saw the last video, catastrophic, self-sabotaging thoughts, on that cycle. So, but when I started to listen to the intuition, that freed the mind space. And also what it does is it brings you into the present, because you can only listen to your intuition if you're in the present. You can't, if you're thinking of the past or the future, you're not going to be open to receive that. So when you're feeling and intuitive, just by feeling alone, by being in your heart alone, by default, you are in the present. So by living intuitively, you are naturally free and naturally present. So I thought, wow, that is super cool. And then the major revelation that came in this channeling for me, it was like a vision. And a lot of time in channeling, I'll get like a vision and I kind of translate it into words. But it was like, imagine like a black screen, but you could see this white, kind of yellowish white light as a path. And what was coming through was that follow the light of your path. So every single person has a different path. I have a path, you have a path, your neighbor has a path, your friend has a path. And right, at some moments our paths intersect and that, but we each have our own path. And follow the light of your path. So what does that mean? Follow your feelings. Follow what feels good. Follow what resonates with you. How do you know what resonates? Is it feels good. If it's dissonant, it will not feel good. So it's so much more simple than we often tend to overthink. It's just following that, and along our path, we're going to be given all the opportunities that are good for us to grow and learn from. What you may call challenges, but what I had a bit of a tough time with the word challenges for a while because of my catastrophic thinking, that I changed it to gifts or becoming more of your true self. So I thought of, we have more opportunities to become our true self. If the word challenge is hard for you, and it's okay, I totally understand, because it has been tough for me too. So yeah, the universe, our vibration, is going to bring to us everything that we need to grow in a way that is best for us. And when we grow in a way that is best for us, we are growing in a way that is best for the whole as well. So one thing to keep in mind is that oftentimes we can think, that we're focused on our path and ourself. Like, what about the other people? And we have a heart that just wants to assist others. Well, when we work on ourselves, we are assisting others just by default. Because as we raise our frequency, we raise the frequency of literally everything around us. And so yeah, this is another thing that is just coming into my mind, that once you experience this in person in many different situations with many people, you'll understand the power of it and what I mean by this, but I would say just keep going and keep your eye out for the example that comes to my mind is how someone maybe at school or at work, how they maybe used to treat you or treat other people, and how as you raise your vibration, how they treat you along the way. And I've noticed that in my own life. As your vibration increases, people will just automatically respect you, automatically like want to help you out. When you're doing the best for yourself, you're actually doing the best you can for others. And then when you're doing the best you can for others, they want to give you their best in return. And this is all vibrational. It's not like you're just talking this out. It's because we're all connected, and all of our higher selves, can hear what, say you're thinking a thought about someone and you don't think they can hear you. Well, their higher self can. and and they may take action in a certain way according to that. So we're all connected, and so once you embrace this, it becomes the most beautiful thing. And for me, it's now I've learned I can actually telepathically communicate with other people's higher selves. So even say this hasn't happened in years because I'm at a frequency where it wouldn't happen, but if someone is acting out of sorts, you can just communicate with their higher self, who is always loving, always at peace, always loves you unconditionally. And maybe just the thought of that will assist you in your day-to-day life. And that's where we're going as a human species, is where we'll all be telepathic and we'll all be able to communicate with each other without speaking. So it's a good thing to kind of maybe start now, but only you know what's best for you. But for me, it's been very, very helpful. And yeah, so back to this, the light. So the light of the path. And the main message was, the only reason you can see the light is because of the darkness all around. So often, well, in religions and whatnot, the darkness is seen as this bad thing, this thing that must be removed or deleted or something. But what I've learned on my journey is the darkness is it's good. It's great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It serves its purpose. And really, when you think about it, it's like fear. Darkness is just the absence of light. So darkness isn't even real. It's nothing. It's just the absence of light. And I say fear because fear isn't real either. Fear is just pretend, and some sort of illusion or story we create in the mind. So yeah, but back to this path, the darkness is in this vision. It was what was dissonant, what didn't resonate. The light was what resonated, so what felt good. So it's so good that we have the darkness here on Earth, especially, so that we move toward what makes us feel good. So if it doesn't feel good, not to want to delete it or get rid of it, you accept it, and maybe you send love to it. If someone is acting out of sorts, it's just because it's just a cry for love. It's always just a cry for love. All acts of fear, all acts of indecency and whatnot, it's all a cry for love. It's all just because this being is so disconnected from the truth of who it is trying so hard to get love, and it's all a cry for love. And so, but back to your path, you're following what feels good. You're following the light. And the thing that this was brought up is to focus on that. What trips a lot of humans up is they get focused on what they don't like. They get focused on the darkness. They get focused on something that they don't want. But by becoming so focused and fixated on it, that just perpetuates it in their reality. When maybe if they just sent it love and wished it well and then focused on what they did want, that would just naturally change and become different. So it's good to keep in mind that everything is always changing. Everything is so much more malleable than we're led to believe. There's so many different versions of even people that you can interact with at different vibrational levels, like I was mentioning earlier. So stay focused on your path, on what feels good. And a cool part of the vision was when they talked about that you can't make a mistake. And if you did, say, go off path, your path would just automatically shift. And it showed like the light shifting. Say you go off into the darkness, you're having all these thoughts distracted about something you didn't like. And then all of a sudden, your path of light swings back right in front of you, and then you continue on it. So you really can't make a mistake. It's all just a learning experience. And so a learning, and what comes to mind is, maybe an unlearning experience is more accurate. But we're so used to thinking of when we gain new knowledge or wisdom, we're learning. But yeah, it's a fascinating journey, this one on Earth. And I trust that something I mentioned in this video was helpful. If you've watched it and are interested in the channeling from the Sirian being, the whole thing is available on my website. And I have that channeling and other channelings. And also in there is a link to that vision of the arc, the exponential curve, which I call the arc of growth. And wherever you are right now on your journey, just imagine that every single aspect of your life is on this arc of growth. Every single aspect of your life is only getting better. So yeah, that really helped me, because I used to be one of these people who was programmed to think that life only gets worse and worse and worse. So no, not when you're connected to source energy. Then the entropy becomes centropy. So what does that mean? Entropy means the matter just is constantly in a state of decay. Centropy means when you add energy, you're actually adding, life force to it. So when you're connected to source energy, everything is going to be on this upward trajectory. And even if you're not, you will be on that upward trajectory in terms of spiritual growth. And there is no end, because as soon as you get to the point where you master something, there'll be like 10 new things to master. So it's no worries, you're not going to run out of things to to learn and to do. So yeah, with that, I will leave you there. I know this was a lot, but I just wanted to speak through the channeling from the Sirian friend, and then a bunch of other things just intuitively popped into my mind as we went along. So I just hope it was assisted you as much as these things have assisted me. Wishing you much love, joy, and peace today on your journey and all days. All right, have a wonderful day. Much love.